They forgot to update the address again. I paid $10,400 for the engagement dinner and walked into a silent, empty venue. Oops, must have sent the old location, Mom texted. Anyway, it's too far to come now, she added. I said nothing. Later, my cousin's story dropped. Dad smiling wide. Best party yet. Zero drama, zero him. Everyone cheered. I froze every shared account, pulled the full balance from their venue, and set my parting gift on a 10:01 p.m. timer that made them scream and call me 74 times. Hey everyone. Before we dive in, I have a quick favor to ask. If you enjoy content like this, please hit the subscribe button. It's free, supports the channel, and ensures you never miss out on amazing videos. Alright, let's get started. Seriously, you didn't check the address again? God, you're hopeless. That's the first thing my dad said when I called from the venue, standing alone in a $10,400 rental hall, surrounded by silence and cold hors d'oeuvres. No music, no guests, no lights except the fluorescence buzzing like flies over a corpse. I blinked, looked down at my phone, and read Mom's text again. Oops, must have sent the old location anyway. It's too far to come now. Just head home, sweetie. The message had arrived 10 minutes after the start time. I had already paid for the decor, the caterers, the servers, and even the ridiculous flaming champagne entrance Vanessa insisted on. I stood there alone in a full suit, watching the ice sculpture of two swans begin to melt. I didn't reply, not to her, not to Dad, not even when Vanessa finally texted, "Where are you?" At 9:47 p.m., as if I was the one who disappeared. The real blow didn't land until later that night. My cousin posted a story on Instagram, a boomerang of everyone cheering, drinks raised, streamers flying. Dad in the center, smiling wide, his hand around Vanessa's fiancé. The caption read, "Best party yet, zero drama, zero him." There I was. I stared at the video on loop, watching the room I paid for but wasn't invited to. Watching people I had bailed out year after year laugh like I'd finally done the decent thing and disappeared. That was the moment something cracked. I froze every shared account, Netflix, Spotify, the Apple Family Plan. Then I emptied the balance from the venue's card, including the refundable deposit, the same card they used for Vanessa's upcoming honeymoon payments. And then at exactly 10:01 p.m., I set my parting gift, a Dropbox folder set to auto-send to every family group chat, plus their church committee, Dad's old golf group, and Mom's book club. It contains screenshots of Vanessa's fake invoices, audio of Mom telling her to just distract him. He never double-checks receipts. I hesitated to include it, but I needed them to understand why trust was no longer possible. A copy of the guest list with my name whited out. At 10:03 p.m., my phone lit up. First Mom, then Dad, then Vanessa, then the cousins. By midnight, I had 74 missed calls. I didn't pick up. For years, they made it look like love, like I was part of something that mattered. Mom would text, "Can you help just this once?" and I'd send a transfer without asking. Vanessa always said, "I'll pay you back." But the receipts never came. I paid for her Invisalign, her dog's surgery, the Netflix account, the family phone plan, the anniversary dinner that Dad raised a toast at. To family, he said. But I bought the wine. I paid the bill. I even tipped the waiter who called me sir. While Vanessa rolled her eyes and whispered, "Relax, it's just a meal." They were always behind on something. Rent, utilities, tuition for her so-called business course that she dropped after 2 weeks. Vanessa always had an excuse, and I always had cash. At first, I told myself I was being kind. Then I told myself I was being useful. But eventually the math stopped working because what they took never equaled what they gave. And what they gave was mostly silence, sarcasm, or straight-up entitlement. One time I overheard Dad saying to his cousin at a barbecue, "Alex is good for emergencies. That's his role." They laughed. I pretended not to hear. The engagement dinner was supposed to be the last gift. My goodbye in the form of a check. But even that they stole. I found out later that Vanessa had booked a second venue with my deposit someplace across town. Flashier, louder, more social media friendly. According to her, she used my name on the reservation. Of course, I only realized it after checking the catering invoice. The menu listed shrimp tartare and bride's signature sangria, none of which I'd approved. They took my money and erased me from the photo. Things didn't fall apart right away. They unraveled slowly. The family chat went dead for a few days. I figured they were embarrassed. Maybe they thought I'd yell, but I didn't. I went quiet, and that's when things got worse. One afternoon, I stopped by Vanessa's place to drop off a pair of heels she left in my car after a wedding rehearsal. She wasn't home, but the door was unlocked. Typical. I let myself in, called out, no answer. Her laptop was open on the kitchen counter, email client glowing. I wasn't trying to snoop. I was about to close it until I saw my name. It was a thread between her and Mom. Subject line, "Plan for Saturday, keep Alex out." I froze, scrolled. Vanessa wrote, "He'll be mad for 5 minutes. Then he'll pay for brunch anyway." Mom replied, "Just don't let him show up. It's too awkward with Dan's family. They don't like drama." Then the worst line of all, "Of course he'll pay. He always does." I didn't know what burned more, the betrayal or the certainty. That same night, Dad posted a status. "Some people thrive on drama. Proud of my daughter for rising above it." He didn't tag me. He didn't have to. The comments were even better. My aunt wrote, "You raised her well. Not like certain men I won't name." My cousin replied with a laughing emoji. And you mean the family wallet? Then someone sent me a screenshot of another group chat, a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. They were planning a family brunch the day after the engagement party. No invitation. One line stood out. Let's keep it clean. No meltdowns. No Alex. I sat at my desk staring at the screen. Not angry, not even surprised anymore. Just done. The next day, Mom messaged me. Hey, sweetie, any chance you can help with the honeymoon deposit? Vanessa's card bounced and she's super stressed. I didn't answer. She followed up. It's just a bit short term. We'll pay you back. Promise. And remember, family means showing up. Don't be petty about the dinner thing. That was when I realized something. They never said sorry. Not once. Not for the money. Not for the manipulation. Not for locking me out of something I paid for. To them, I was a tool. A silent one. Not anymore. I started reviewing my bank statements, found 6 charges I didn't authorize. $389 for Vanessa's dress rehearsal makeup, $1,020 to a florist I never called, and a suspicious transfer to an account ending in 82 Hearse. I called the bank, flagged the account, asked for an internal report. Then I canceled every automatic payment linked to the family card. Their power bill, gone. The monthly grocery top-up, declined. Even the wedding website URL I had registered for them now redirected to a plain white page that said, "This celebration has been canceled, refunds pending." That wasn't entirely true, but it got the message across. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was loaded. Vanessa unfollowed me on everything. Dad texted, "Grow up." Mom sent a single rose emoji. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because they still thought I'd come back. They had no idea this was just the start. The restaurant was all white linen and candlelight, the kind of place where forks cost more than most meals I grew up on. Vanessa had reserved the back terrace. Curated, she'd said in the email chain I wasn't on. I wasn't invited, but I came anyway. Dan, her fiancé, was talking to his parents. Dad was already half a glass deep. Mom was laughing with a cousin I hadn't seen in 10 years. No one noticed me at first. Not until the waiter asked politely, "Excuse me, are you at the Carter Lane party?" I smiled. "Unfortunately," I said. I walked in without hesitation. The clink of silverware froze midair. A napkin dropped. Vanessa's smile evaporated like cheap perfume. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. I shrugged. Thought I'd stop by, say congrats, see what a $10,400 party looks like when you subtract the guy who paid for it. Dan looked confused. His father narrowed his eyes. My own dad stood up slowly like he thought he was still in control. "This isn't the time, Alex," I turned to him. "You made that decision for me the moment you told your little cheer squad I was zero drama. Zero him." His jaw twitched. Vanessa stepped forward. "You don't get to just show up and ruin this." I laughed once, short, cold. "Ruin it? Vanessa, I funded it. Every rose, every rented champagne flute, even the playlist was downloaded with my Apple Music login." I pulled out my phone, opened screenshots, held them up like Exhibit A. "This is your email to Mom. Just make sure Alex doesn't find out. Transfer the money from his card and we'll deal with it later." Vanessa paled. I turned to Dan. "And this one's fun. Your bride-to-be writing he's a loser, but his money's good. He won't fight back. He never does." Gasps, murmurs. Mom stood up, flustered. Let's not make this worse." I kept going. "Worse? Mom, you helped. I saw your reply. Of course he'll pay. He always does. And you know what? You were right. I did, until now." I turned to Dan again. He looked like someone watching a building collapse and realizing he was inside it. "Tell me, Dan, how much of your honeymoon did you pay for? Because the $3,000 charge to the Maldives villa, that was my card." I didn't say it to humiliate anyone. I said it because no one else ever had. Vanessa shouted, "You're insane!" But her voice cracked halfway through. "No," I said. "I'm just finally awake." Then I tapped one more screen. And in case anyone wants receipts, a link, a shared drive, every transaction, every screenshot. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to stop pretending none of it happened. I'd sent it to everyone at the table. Phones buzzed in unison. You could feel the silence tighten like a noose. Then Dan's father stood up. "Is this true?" he asked quietly. Dan didn't answer. Vanessa's hands shook. She reached across the table toward him, but he pulled away. "You said he offered to help," Dan said slowly. "You said he insisted." She opened her mouth, closed it, looked at me. I didn't flinch. Then Dan looked at his father, then at her again, and said, "I need some air." He left. Vanessa stood frozen, her eyes darting. Then she screamed, "You always do this. You make everything about you." I stepped forward, close enough for only her to hear. "You made me invisible. I'm just showing everyone the ghost you built." And then I turned to the table, all the relatives fake smiling, sipping wine they didn't pay for. "Let me make it clear. I'm not your ATM anymore. Not your backup plan, not your punching bag." Dad's voice rose. "You're humiliating us." I cut him off. "No, you did that yourselves." Then I walked out. No one followed except for one cousin. Quiet guy. He caught up in the parking lot. I saw the screenshots. He said, "If you ever need someone to testify." I nodded, didn't speak, got in the car, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like driving away from something. I felt like I was driving towards something. They started calling before I even left the parking garage. Mom was first. 7 missed calls in a row. Then again, 3 minutes later, a text. "Please don't do this. Don't make it permanent." But it already was. They thought they still had the right to a conversation. That after everything we'd sit down, say we're all just tired, cry a little, and I'd go back to being useful. Maybe a little bitter, but still theirs. No, I didn't yell. I didn't post receipts. I didn't explain. I just went silent completely. By the next day, I had shut down every payment channel I controlled. Utilities canceled, mom's health insurance terminated, wedding services revoked, shared logins, subscriptions, auto-renewals deleted. Then came the second wave. Softer, calculated. Vanessa sent a long, strangely sweet message. Look, we were stressed. I know it looked bad, but can we just talk? Followed by, you blew things out of proportion, but I forgive you. I didn't respond. I deleted the entire thread permanently. By day 3, the phone went quiet, and that silence was louder than anything. I saw the group chat light up. A cousin I barely knew typed, well, if he won't answer, that's on him. Day 4 brought a different kind of panic. Real panic. Now they were scrambling. Mom can't get her prescription. The system says her coverage was dropped. Why is the wedding site down? Try logging into our Family Prime account. It said, access revoked. I never replied. For the first time in years, I wasn't the one left wondering. I was the one unreachable. That same week, I signed a lease in another part of the city. Smaller building, quieter street. No one knew my name. I bought new furniture. Not because I needed it, but because I didn't want to carry a single chair from the past into my next room. I didn't block them. I just didn't update them. I didn't share my new address. Didn't drop hints. Didn't say I need space. I took it. I kept my old number technically, but I powered off the phone they knew, bought a new SIM card, and gave the number to no one except the bank and two-factor authentication systems. It wasn't hiding. It was a razor done cleanly. On day 5, my dad called. I saw the name flash across the screen. I watched it ring and I felt nothing. He left a voicemail. You're no hero, Alex. You'll bury yourself the same way your grandfather did. Then another. Running away like a boy. A man doesn't disappear. A man fights. I listened once, then deleted both, and never played another. They didn't understand it was never about the dinner or the screenshots. It was about the fact that for the first time ever, I didn't come back. Every other year, I'd blow up, go quiet for a week, then show up with cash, help, or silence. This time, I left and locked every door behind me. Their messages grew uglier. Vanessa accused me of destroying the most important moment of her life, said I sabotaged her happiness. Mom tried gentleness. Family isn't perfect, but it's yours. My response, none. I wasn't seeking revenge. I simply cut off access and I kept living. Mornings were quieter. No, can you send a quick transfer text over breakfast? Lunch breaks weren't interrupted by guilt calls. Weekends became real weekends, not unpaid errands framed as obligations. I no longer expected gratitude because finally I owed them nothing, and they owed me nothing. One evening, walking home, I saw a message from an unknown number. A screenshot of an old subscription renewal, the last one ever processed under my name. No greeting, just a caption. So, you really meant it? Yes, I really did. I didn't burn the bridge, I buried it, and I never marked the grave. 5 months. That's how long it had been since the night everything exploded. I didn't reply, didn't check the group chats. New bank, new apartment, new rules. No family ever again. And it worked. I could breathe. My money stayed exactly where I left it. My head stayed quiet. Silence no longer needed to be protected. It just existed. Finally, I'd started to believe that was it. That I'd done it. Walked away and left the mess behind like a shed skin. Then Dan called. Unknown number. Familiar voice. Look, I know you probably never want to hear from us again, but something's happened. I should have hung up. Every cell in my body told me to, but I didn't. Vanessa opened a credit line, in your name. I only found out because the bank called me. Thought I was her husband. He hesitated. She used some old paperwork. Power of attorney from years ago, apparently. Said you were aware. She said I was in on it, that I approved. That maybe you still cared just enough to be useful again. I walked into the bank without a lawyer. No fanfare, no panic, just the kind of rage that froze solid. Quiet and focused like a scalpel. The account manager, a woman in her 30s, kept scanning my ID, her eyes flicking nervously between tabs. This isn't just a mix-up, Mr. Carter. These are deliberate identity actions. Coordinated. Fraudulent. I nodded. A personal loan, a small business card under Event Consulting, 2 attempts to apply for state-level COVID recovery grants. Total nearly $18,000. All tied to my name, my credit, my old life. I signed a complaint. The investigation began, and then, as if scripted by the universe, my mother walked in. She froze in place like she'd seen a corpse sit up. We locked eyes. She walked over slowly, like a guilty child crossing a glass floor. Please, she said quietly, don't go through with this. You don't know the full story. I waited. Vanessa didn't mean to hurt you. She panicked. You disappeared. She thought you moved on. She was going to pay it back. We just needed help getting started. She committed fraud, I said. It's family, Alex. Exactly. And you all use that word like a weapon. Her eyes filled. You don't do this to family, she whispered. I looked directly at her and said it. You did it to me first. 3 days later, Vanessa was arrested mid-appointment in a boutique salon. Nails half finished, expensive curls pinned to one side, handcuffed in front of clients. She probably bragged about her quiet brother who always comes through. Someone filmed it. I wasn't there. I didn't share it. I didn't even know until days later the clip made its way to TikTok, over 40,000 views in one night. Her screaming, "This is a mistake," clutching a designer bag she bought in my name, begging the officers not to make a scene. But the scene was already made. The headlines followed. Bride-to-be arrested for identity theft. Brother reports $18,000 scam. Family betrayal. Sibling fraud leads to public arrest. I didn't post a thing, didn't tweet, didn't hint. Still, people tagged me. "Isn't this your sister? She used your name and thought you wouldn't notice." Quiet brother. Loud karma. Dan called again. He canceled the engagement publicly, officially. No drama, no comments, just a removal. His message to me was quiet too. "I didn't know the half of it. You were right to walk away. I'm sorry I ever doubted you." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Everything I ever wanted to say I already said. They just never listened. Now they didn't get to hear it at all. Weeks later, I sat in the bank again, closing every legacy tie. "Emergency contact," the woman asked. I smiled. "None." She hesitated, waiting for a name. "Leave it blank," I said, intentionally. She nodded and typed. In that moment, that blank space felt cleaner than any apology I never got. As I left, I noticed a familiar car parked down the street. Same dent in the bumper, same faded air freshener. Dad. He was slouched behind the wheel, engine off, just staring. Not angry, not boiling over like before, just small. I walked past. Didn't look at him. Didn't offer a nod. I didn't owe him recognition. And here's the truth I wish I'd learned sooner. I wasn't weak because I stayed. I was useful. I was obedient. I was silent. And they loved that silence because it gave them everything. But silence isn't loyalty. And when I finally stopped being quiet, not with words but with action, they didn't know what to do. So now I'm gone. Not a victim, not a son, not a brother, not theirs. They wanted me erased. Now they don't exist in my world.